Georges de Latour Private Reserve, it's really the first cult Cabernet to come out of the Napa Valley. It represents entrepreneurship, innovation, really setting the standard and the bar for quality for the whole region. Georges de Latour first came to the United States from France in the early 1880s. He'd actually travel up to the wine regions, both Sonoma and Napa, and he always had this tremendous affinity towards the Napa Valley. He felt that it had the terroir, the microclimate. Beaulieu Vineyard was founded in 1900. If you really look at what he did and all the steps that he took to really found this amazing winery, it started with being an entrepreneur, being very experimental and driven. We're here at BV1, which is really the first property that Georges de Latour purchased and invested in the Napa Valley right here in the heart of Rutherford. It started with the first 4 acres and a small home, and then he purchased the adjacent ranch around it. When his wife saw the property, she said, "Que Beaulieu, what a beautiful place." Andre Tchelistcheff is somebody who is one of the most, if not the most important winemaker in the history of Napa Valley, and truly somebody who really shaped what it is that we do here today. Andre joined Beaulieu Vineyard in 1938. Andre had tremendous impact, really from the very beginning. One of the first things that he did was he went back and he tasted through the 36 vintage and identified his top-end tanks and lots from that particular vintage and assembled for the first time ever a truly iconic Cabernet coming out of Rutherford under the Beaulieu label. And when they bottled that in 1939, Georges de Latour passed away shortly thereafter, so they decided to name it in his honor, and boom, you had the birth of one of the most iconic wines to ever come out of the Napa Valley. Andre Tchelistcheff was quoted sometime around the 1960s as saying, in order to make a truly iconic Napa Valley Cabernet, it takes a lot of Rutherford dust. Rutherford dust is very important to Georges de Latour Private Reserve because really it is that core. I mean, most of what makes that wine does come from right here in Rutherford. We're very much about that terroir and about that sense of place. And then it's using the latest and greatest technology that we have available at our fingertips to maximize the quality coming off of the vineyard. And then once it enters the winery, we use technology to really maximize the winemaking. Well, the Georges de Latour Private Reserve is aged in French oak for about 21 to 22 months, depending on the vintage. During that time, we'll rack it 2 to 3 times and then pump it out to that final tank and blend and bottle. We're at a very pivotal moment and a very important time in the history of Beaulieu Vineyards. The first vintage of Georges de Latour was 1936, and we are now releasing the 80th vintage, which is the 2016. 2016 was truly an amazing vintage. We were really hitting our stride right there with the new technology that we've invested in the winery and in the vineyards. Everything came together to create, in my opinion, what is the best vintages of Georges de Latour Private Reserve ever made. He's got his name right on that label, and that's not something that I take lightly. And the beauty of this whole thing is that really we're using those same exact vineyards today to craft this wine as we were 80 years ago.